Hi everyone! In this video we are going to look at a brand new launch from Kaja Beauty. If you're not familiar, Kaja Beauty is a brand that is launched I think under the umbrella of Mimibox, but it's exclusively available through Sephora stores. You can also see the items at I think Mimibox's website, but in terms of retailers that you're used to, Sephora is the exclusive retailer right now for this brand. And I haven't really heard anyone talk about this new launch, but it is available now at Sephora. These are the Moon Crystal Sparkling Eye Pigments, and these are available exclusively for purchase through Sephora's online website. I will put a link in the description box below to where you can find these products if you're interested in purchasing them. I will also include a link to Ebates so that you can get some cash back if you do make an online order. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel and follow Allura Beauty at Allura_Beauty on Instagram. And last, I'll put a link to the most recent video. That was for Almay's makeup. I did a full face using Almay makeup, which is kind of interesting because when I was a teenager, that was one of the first brands that I used. And it's kind of neat to see how the brand has started to rebrand themselves now and to see the differences and the things that they have continued to carry over from many years ago. So if you're interested in that, that'll be linked for you in the upper right-hand corner. All right, let's get to swatching these new Moon Crystal Sparkling Eye Pigments from Kaja Beauty. So these are retailing for $16 each. You have a total of 8 shades, and I will be showing you all 8 of those shades in this video. The description by Kaja says, these full pigment eyeshadows will have you moonstruck. Kaja's sparkling effect technology combines crystal powders and metallic coated glitter pearls to reflect light from all angles. The jelly formula sets in a flash, adding a high impact sparkle that applies like a gel, dries to a powder, and comes in a range of energetic hues packed with topaz, diamond, and sapphire crystals. These are said to be free of sulfates, parabens, and phthalates, and it also says that the formula is supposed to be weightless. And in terms of how to use them, it is suggested that you tap these on the lids with your fingers and then blend out. So when it comes to doing the swatches for you, I will apply these over the skin with my finger as opposed to a brush. The boxes these come in are really cute also. They have holographic glitter on them, as well as the name of the product. And then on the top of the box here, you have the number and the shade name, as well as kind of a color coding to give you kind of an idea of what the color you get in the tube will be. And this is the tube packaging for the product itself. As you can see, these are squeeze tubes with kind of narrow dispensers there. What I noticed immediately taking these tubes out of their boxes is, and as you can see in the camera, is that these tubes are kind of oversized. So you can see that the gel product inside has settled to the other side of the tube, and that allows you to see right away that there's plenty of empty space in these tubes. So my guess is kind of that the amount of product you get visually probably only goes about to up here, and then the rest of the tube is covered by the opaque kind of shade suggestion that's on the tube, but you don't actually get this amount of product. So the tube is a little bit excessive, I guess. So this first shade here is 01 Goddess. Shade 2 is Luminary. Shade 3 is Tiger's Eye. Shade 4 is Rose Quartz. Shade 5 is Mystical. Shade 6 is Cosmic. Shade 7 is Magic. And shade 8 is Dark Matter. And something I'm curious to ask all of you is, before we start swatching these, which ones, based on your first impression of seeing the shade in the tubes, do you think are going to be your favorite colors? Just leave them in the comments, or just wait until the end of the video, but keep in mind which shades you think you're gonna like most, and then let me know at the end of the video, leave a comment saying whether those first impressions turned out to be true, or whether you ended up liking other shades better. So for me, I am really drawn to shade number 4, which is Rose Quartz, number 5, which is Mystical, and then number 7, which is Magic. And I don't know if the camera picks up, but on Magic, it is definitely a duochrome of purple and then a flash of green. So that's very interesting. Rose Quartz also has kind of a more subtle duochrome of the pink with the copper. And to do the swatches, I'm just going to take the product and apply some on my finger. I'm going to apply, of course, more than I would on my eyelid since it's a much larger space on my arm. But I'm just going to dispense the product like that and then do the swatch. So shade 01 is Goddess. This is a shimmering bronze, and it has glitter particles that are silver. Shade number 2 is Luminary, described as a shimmering champagne. Now this one has more of a metallic finish. It does have some shimmer particles in it, but it's not the larger glittery particles like we saw with the first shade. So this one has a smoother finish to it. Shade number 3 is Tiger's Eye. This is described as a shimmering bronze taupe. And again, this is more of a metallic finish shade. Oh, this is interesting. As I am pressing this into the skin and kind of blending it out, I see not only silver shimmer in there, but it looks like purple shimmer particles. Very pretty. Okay, and now I looked up close, and there's also specks of green in here. So this has silver shimmer, it looks like blue shimmer, and some green shimmer. Shade 04 is Rose Quartz. This is described as a shimmering rose duochrome. It's right now very strongly on the copper side. This one's interesting. It seems to have kind of a different texture slightly, or it's blending onto the skin more patchy than the other ones. I'm using a dabbing motion to try to get a little bit more of a smoother finish there. But definitely more streaky than the other ones. Oh, on the camera, it looks like, for you guys, this may look predominantly rose-toned. Let me know in the comment section below how this looks, but from my angle this way, it looks predominantly copper toned, so that's where the duochrome comes in. Shade 05 is Mystical, a shimmering soft lavender. This one seems to have kind of a similar texture to Rose Quartz. Just not as elegantly smooth as the prior formulas. And this one does also seem to have kind of a subtle bluish flash to it also. Shade 06 is Cosmic, and this is a shimmering teal. Seems to have a pretty smooth formula. but again, not as effortlessly smooth as some of the prior ones. And this also has gold, or like greenish gold shimmer in the shade. Shade 07 is Magic, described as a shimmering amethyst. Again, a slight bit of, I don't know, chunkiness is a little bit too far of a description, but you know, less smoothness, I guess. It still looks very beautiful, and I would suggest you use a tapping motion like this to keep it as smooth as possible. The duochrome on this one isn't as strong as I thought it would be with the flash to green, at least not in the light I'm seeing it. And shade 08 is Dark Matter. And this is a shimmering royal blue. To my eye, this has a pretty strong purple leaning. It definitely has kind of grape purple shimmer too. This shade is not as pigmented as the other ones. Okay, so here are the initial 8 swatches of the shades. Let's look up close and kind of go one by one. So shade 1, we have Goddess, which went on smoothly but does have larger particles of glitter. Then shades 2 and 3, which were, what is this, Luminary and Tiger's Eye, those went on the most smooth and most opaque there. No issues with those. Then we went on to Rose Quartz. Hopefully you can see the different flashes that it has. Also fairly smooth, not quite as opaque and smooth as the prior two, but definitely something you can work with and tap in to get a pretty smooth layer there. Then we moved on to the last 4 shades, and actually let me work backwards. So 08, which was Dark Matter, which has a blue and purple kind of duo shade going on there. This one, for whatever reason, seemed the least pigmented. Now I made sure to use, you know, approximately the same amount of product to do the swatches. So it wasn't that I used significantly less product on that one. We can go back in and I'll layer some of these to see if we can get them more smooth and whatnot, but that's on initial layering there. Then we have 07 Magic, which I thought would be one of my favorites, but the duochrome is definitely not really that strong on this shade, which I was a little disappointed with, and it seems to have smoothed out better now, but you can still see a little bit of unevenness in the pigmentation there. And then 05 Cosmic, or 06 Cosmic, and 05 Mystical. Those two, again, you can see a little bit of streakiness or patchiness or just lack of pigmentation there, and you can probably see a little bit of texture on those finishes too. Nothing major, especially on the small space on your lids. These characteristics will not be as exaggerated or as noticeable, so wait till the end of the video. I will apply a shade or two on the lids to show you the finishes, but just giving you my thoughts right now from the initial swatches. Okay, so on first layer, here are your first 8 shades. But let's go back on some of them. I'm gonna probably do the last 4 here and put second layers on them to, well, let's do the last 5 just to see how they build up and what we can get out of them on 2 layers. Okay, let's go backwards. 08 Dark Magic. Applying second layer. It's nice that it seems to layer pretty well. But it's still definitely not as opaque as the other shades, which is kind of curious. 07 Magic. Again, trying to build up that opacity on the less opaque part of the application. Again, seems to layer very well. Doesn't pick up the underlying layer or anything like that, which is nice. 06 Cosmic. This is such a mermaid shade. Okay, definitely building up the opacity there. 05 Mystical. Still a bit of sheerness there. And 04 Rose Quartz. I really don't think this needs a second layer, but wanted to see if it made any major difference, which I don't think it does. In fact, this seems to lift a little bit that underlying layer, so don't think it's any sort of improvement. All right, so there are your 8 shades. Last 5 of them with a couple of coats applied. It is nice to see that they layer pretty well if you're going to add more product. So now that we've done 2 layers, here's a look at the last 5 shades that we have. All right, and I have let these set for about 2 minutes, so to make sure they're fully dry. And let's do a swipe test now to see how they dry down and how smudge proof they might be. So I'm taking my finger, applying pressure and going across. Yeah, they seem pretty smudge resistant. You get a really tiny bit of shimmer being dragged off, but practically speaking, you should not expect these to be smearing all over the place. They dry down and set pretty well. And let's take some water or mixing medium, do the same thing. Oh, so they're not really water resistant. So just be aware if you have really teary eyes, or if you're gonna cry, these probably aren't gonna hold up past that. Although I will say I did not do these swatches over primer the way I usually do with powder eyeshadows, with cream eyeshadows. They don't really have an effect on the swatches, so I don't usually put them over primer. Now I'm just having fun smearing this all together while I talk, but I don't know if that would make that much of a difference to make them a little more water resistant. Okay, so now you will see me applying 2 of the shades. I first started with the shade 08 Dark Matter because I wanted to test out how it looked on the lid, since we kind of had the most trouble with that in the swatches. And I have to say, these apply even more beautifully than they swatch. So even though we had some technical difficulties with the swatches, like what I suggested before, I think sort of proved true, which is that because the space on your lids is much smaller, you actually don't really notice the technical difficulties that may arise when you are doing a much larger area in a swatch. These are shimmering and beautiful. It was nice to be able to blend it and then layer on top to get a more opaque finish. So that happened very nicely and well. You then saw me on the other eye applying the shade 07 Magic. And again, the other thing I noticed with this, not only nice application and easy application, but the duochrome actually came across much more strongly on the application on the lid, maybe because the lid is curved, or I'm not really sure why, but in any case, I like these. I'm more impressed in application on these than I was with the swatches. So leave me a comment in the comment section below. I would like to know which shades you ended up liking once they were out of the tube and actually swatched. Magic is actually a much more punched up, shimmering, beautiful version of MAC's Club, and a lot of brands nowadays have that green, brown, purplish duochrome, but MAC was kind of the first one, I think, widely that had one known as Club. But on the lids, this is so beautiful. So I definitely loved that shade. I think maybe I'm not quite as keen on Rose Quartz once it's out of the tube, but I think any of these will look very pretty on the lids. And the formula does set nicely once you have applied, so it's nice that they seem to be long wearing also. All right, let me know what you think of these in the comment section below. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that it was helpful to you. If you have a couple seconds and can give the video a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate that. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you in the next video.